Hello, everybody, and welcome to the BlueLedge webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know my clock says it's 7 o'clock here on the East Coast, 4 o'clock on the West Coast. I am just going to wait a few more minutes for everybody to come on into the room and join us. We might get a few people coming in a little bit late, so I'll give it just a couple more minutes to allow everybody to come on in. The participant numbers are still growing, and yeah, we'll get going here in a couple minutes. Thank you all. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Please remember that we can't see or hear you, but you can ask your questions in the chat pod or within the Q&A, the chat window or the Q&A pod. So please feel free to, if you have questions or want to engage with our panelists, please do it there. And we will be saving some time at the end to talk with everybody and answer any questions you may have. We're very excited. Just one more minute or so, and then we will get started. Well, it is reading 7:03 here at my computer. So I'm going to let us get started, and thank you everybody for joining us. I really appreciate you coming out this evening. I know sometimes these later webinars are hard for people on the East Coast, but it helps with our friends on the West Coast to be towards the end of their workday. So I appreciate everybody joining us, and we're going to get started right now. This is how to get more involved in the industry, and that is the industry of digital court reporting and legal transcription. And today is April 26, 2022. So thank you everybody for joining me. A quick reminder, yes, I know we're talking about how to get involved, but one of the biggest, best ways that you can get involved is by joining us at our annual conference in Wisconsin, June 16th through the 18th. You can find out more information at aaert.org. There will also be a virtual session part of the conference. So if you are not comfortable with going in person or just unable to fit it in your schedule, you will be able to partake in some of the events, not all of them, but some of them for the virtual part of the conference. But if you can make it out there, it would be great. We're going to be doing lots of great workshops and meet and greets, tours of a courthouse, all sorts of great things. And I'll let Eileen talk about that more later. She knows the details way better than I do. So, but yeah, so please, if you want to get involved, that is a great way. Let's get started. My name is Benjamin Jaffe. I am the host of today's webinar. I have been in the multimedia industry for about 15 years, and then I got into legal and training and development, and currently I'm the manager of training and development for BlueLedge. I was the former legal technology manager at Orange Legal. I am a certified electronic reporter through AAERT, a AAERT Board of Directors member, and the chair of the communications committee. So I'm very happy to be here. We are also joined by Janet Harris, who is our current president of AAERT, a board member and one of the original founders. She is also vice president of enterprise sales at Stenograph and began her career in Wisconsin and going to stenographic school, but ended up as a digital court reporter and transcriber and has worked in the industry quite a while. So Janet, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. And clearly I have a new hairdo. Uh, I apologize. I just had a little bit of a detour. So I apologize for coming in so late, but thanks for bringing me on board for this. And I'm really excited to talk to your students and everybody else who's listening and how they can get more involved.
We're excited to have you and excited for them to learn. Thank you. And then we are also joined by Jenny Burke. She is the vice president of AAERT's board of directors and president owner of Busy Bees court reporting and transcription services. She's also an AAERT certified electronic reporter and transcriber and a Tennessee certified court reporter who was trained to be a court reporter by the U.S. Navy. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ben. I'm always excited to talk about our industry. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Always, always. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Eileen Watson is the chair of AAERT's Professional Development Committee, and they are responsible for planning our conferences, our forums, and our webinars. So she is an integral part of us as a organization and as part of the industry. She is also a partner owner of Access Transcript and has over 20 years of experience in court proceedings, depositions, insurance statements, financial earning call, and all sorts of other legal proceedings and meetings, and has been on several AAERT committees over the year, including certification, education, conference, and for the board nominations, and is a CET and a CER. Eileen, welcome to the webinar and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ben. I'm really excited to tell everybody how they can get more involved and how fulfilling it is to volunteer on these committees. It benefits you personally as well as professionally, and I encourage everybody to be as involved as they can.
Well, great. Well, no, I encourage that as well, and it is wonderful. So I am very excited. Speaking of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the conferences upcoming? I know I started mentioning it, but why don't you tell us a few of the highlights about what's going to be there and why people may want to join us?
Oh, well, first and foremost, it's our first in-person conference since the pandemic. So just getting together in person with your colleagues, I think gives you such great energy and networking opportunities. We're going to have some great speakers at the conference this year. I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me because my computer won't let me do that at the moment, but there's going to be lots of great presentations for the students. There are going to be some sessions on how to take the CER as well as the CET, so some study tips and things you need to know for those courses. We're going to have two great keynote speakers. We are going to have a courthouse tour. There are some sessions on all kinds of things that I think will be really interesting to pretty much everybody within our organization and within our industry.
And if you're not sick of me from all these webinars, you can also, I'm presenting at the conference as well.
Yes, you are.
Well, there you go. Well, wonderful. Well, obviously we all think people should get involved, but Janet, what are the key reasons somebody should get involved in their industry? I mean, a lot of people on this call today might be thinking about being independent contractors or working for a small organization, or maybe thinking about, hey, remote's really worked for me. I'm good working by myself, but what's the reason somebody should get more involved?
So one of the reasons that I got involved with the association in the very beginning was there were very few opportunities for me to learn more about what I was doing from other people who were like me. And AAERT was that place where I found people from all over the country doing all different types of work. And that's where I got my education from. And we're beginning to see that there are more opportunities to receive education, online learning and new programs that are popping up in public institutions for digital reporting and transcription. But I think networking is one of the most rewarding parts of your educational experience, because you get to hear from people that are actually in the trenches doing the very same thing that you're doing.
Well, great. And Jenny or Eileen, do you guys have anything to add to, maybe why you got involved personally?
Well, Ben, I've been certified as a transcriber since 2008. And, after a few years, several years go by, and you just, is this all I'm going to do is just get really good at typing these pages or doing deposition after deposition? And the annual conference, in my opinion, and I know that it is geared towards new members, new people in the profession, because you kind of have to start where and learn everything as you go to progress. But going to the conferences, I've made so many good friends, colleagues, just networking and being able to see one-on-one and interact. I've always learned so much. Every single time I go to a conference, I learn so much, or, hey, I didn't know about that. And then it just branches out, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there's a place for you at the conference. So it is so rewarding to go to the conferences. And this year they are having the conference. Some of it, like Ben said, was going to be virtual, and some of it, of course, you get the whole shebang when you go in person. But, I would say if you want to take baby steps, then maybe attend online and then see where it goes. But you can always, if you don't know something, ask. People are willing to share and collaborate.
Well, and Eileen, I know you have a very successful transcription business and you've made a lot of contacts in the industry. How does being involved with AART or being involved with others in the industry benefit your business? Obviously there's more of a reward for you than just personally, singularly for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. When my business partner and I first started Access Transcripts, we went to the conference and I got the best mentoring you could possibly find at the conference. There were several people who had been running businesses for years that we could sit down with them and just ask very specific questions like, this is what we're doing. Is this the best way to do it? Where do you find good people? How do you do this? How do you do that? And they gave us such wonderful, concrete advice. Specifically, Tony Wallace was amazing in that regard. I just got some of the best advice and made some of the best connections that I still have to this day. So it's definitely good. And as Jenny was talking about, we're doing a sort of hybrid model. So some of the sessions will be live streamed and people can sign up for those and access those through the Whova platform. You're not going to get all of the sessions. You've really got to be there in person to get all of the sessions. And of course, in person is where you get your very best networking opportunities and opportunities to just sit down with people who may be able to mentor you.
Well, great. And, Janet, I know you were one of the original founders of AAERT and, but maybe not everybody on this call even really knows what AAERT is. So maybe you could talk about what is it and how do you even become a member?
So AAERT, obviously the American Association of Electronic Reporters and Transcribers. And when we were formed in 1994, electronic digital didn't really exist. So it was electronic. We now use those terms interchangeably. And I hear electronic reporter, digital reporter, that some people get confused by that, but it really has become interchangeable. To become a member, certainly you can go to our website. We have made it very easy for our members to join through the website. You can pay on the website. Everything is right there. I do think that something else really valuable about our association, about this meeting, is that we're bringing our dogs. This is a dog-friendly environment. Um, we also have a lot of vendors in the industry. And so as technology begins to change, you get to have hands-on with those product managers and those companies that are actually developing the technology and have come to AART and asked as users, what are you looking for? What do you like about these features? What can we do for you? So we've, as an association, have had a lot of input into how the technology has evolved, the tools that we use every day. So the association was formed really for the purpose of education and ultimately certification, to bring that professional certificate to the industry, to show that, yes, we indeed do have proficiencies, and we can test those proficiencies, and we can be recognized as professionals in the court reporting industry.
And I know Jenny, you have both of your certifications, so maybe you can talk about why would somebody want to become certified?
I personally think that it's an investment in yourself, and not only to the industry, but the certification is a standard. It's saying that you can show an aptitude at these skills, and that you demonstrate this certain level of, it just escaped me. If you could just, if it's just what I say is the gold standard, that you've met this threshold, and you're able to test those skills and prove your competency in those skills. What that's done for me is it just gives me, like, I tend to think the one with the most letters after their name wins. So I do get a lot of research, and a lot of things in this industry are by referral. So I just feel that the certification is basically a demonstrative example of anybody who doesn't know me, or when going for a new job or a contract, that there's that stamp that says that I have tested at this for the certifications for both reporter and transcriber. And it just speaks volumes to people who do know about AAERT. And maybe for the ones who don't know, we'll ask, well, what is AAERT? Because there are, for our certification, there are set standards.
And Eileen, I know you and I have been on webinars before where you're looking for more transcribers and people to work for you. So when you're looking for somebody, what does that certification mean when you're hiring? What does that, what does that mean to you as a business?
What it means to me is that if I bring on somebody who's certified, I know that they're going to be able to hit the ground running and do the work that I send to them with minimal hand-holding, minimal direction on my part, and the confidence that the transcript that they send back to me is going to be a quality transcript. Basically, that they know what they're doing. It lends credibility to you as a professional in the industry, and it shows me that you're serious because you've taken the time to study, to take the test, to keep your certification active by getting CEUs every year. So to me, it's more just you're a professional, you're not just a part-timer doing this as a hobby. I think it makes a huge difference.
And Janet, we are talking about how you get involved, so maybe you can talk about how somebody would get certified.
Sure. Just to tack onto that as well, over time, our certification has now been either a requirement where states are, have licensing for court reporting or government contracts. You can't bid on a contract unless you're bringing in certified electronic reporters or CETs to perform the work. So that makes it even more important that when you have that certification, you are now eligible for different types of work. So getting certified, again, we have made some changes over the last couple of years so that you can take the test anytime during the year. You're no longer limited to a certain cycle period. You're no longer limited to going to a location in your area or coming to a conference that can be, relatively expensive. So we've made it very easy to test. You can go on, again, our website is the wealth of information. And at the very top, there is a tab for certification and recertification that will explain to you, more detail that I'm not going to go into because I don't want to be the only one talking today, of what is required in order to test for CER. We would like to see that you have had either some on-the-job training or education, your court reporting degree, coming through some of the programs that are approved schools. Then we have a list of those available too. If you're looking for a program in your area or that meets your desires of what you're going to get from an educational program. Some are shorter, some are much more extensive. It's really what you want to put into it. And once you test after the CER, you will get your score immediately. The CET, you pass a written knowledge test. And after you pass that first, then you can take the practical, which is producing a transcript. And what makes it a little bit different for our test is that you are actually producing an entire transcript. This is not based on your speed. It is based on your ability to take a set of instructions about format and be able to complete a full title page, appearances page, index page, body of the text, body of the transcript, including QA, colloquy. We really want to be the cert page. There is an anatomy of a court transcript, and we want to know that you are familiar with all aspects of that and can go out into the market and follow the instructions of your particular jurisdiction or of a particular contract or of a particular agency, because there is not one transcript format across the country, which would make all of our lives much easier, but it just doesn't work that way.
That is very true. I am going to pivot a little bit and let's start talking about maybe a way to get involved that isn't necessarily taking a test, but it's maybe giving a little bit of your time. It's joining a committee. Now, I am on the communications committee and work with our, with our I can't think of the name, our outreach committee. Eileen, you've been on several committees. What?
I know every committee you're on, Ben, and you're on the advocacy committee.
Advocacy. Thank you, Janet. There you go. But there you go. Live television, right? Or live webinar. So, but Eileen, you're on several committees or have been, and you're running the professional development committee now. Can you talk about what it means to join a committee and why would somebody want to volunteer their time in that way?
First and foremost, I think you just learn a lot more about the industry by joining a committee. I think I started out maybe on the education committee. I've been grading transcripts for years now. I was on a committee that rewrote the BPG, and that was really, really educational. I think one, you're learning more about the industry. Two, you're interacting with your peers on the committee, so you're learning from them as well as making connections. You're earning CEUs, which is always important to keep your certification up to date. And I think it's just a really good way to give back. I would encourage anybody that has any time at all to join a committee. It doesn't take a huge amount of time. It really, really doesn't. The Professional Development Committee is an hour a week for a Zoom meeting, plus the planning that we do that's not on the call. And that's a really busy committee. There are other committees that probably don't take even that much time. So I would just really encourage anybody who's even thinking about it to just check and see which one might be the best fit for them.
Yeah, and as you said, the time commitment can vary. Communications, it's an hour a month plus some time to write an article or help out on social media. Advocacy is an hour every 2 weeks. So each committee sort of has its own pace, but it definitely is not one of those things that's going to overtake your whole day. It's one of those that you'll get out of it what you put into it. And I think that's really important to assist our industry and grow. Now, Jenny, I know you've helped with some of the leadership development. How would somebody, if they were interested in getting on a committee or helping out the association in any way, how would they go about doing that?
Well, Ben, I'm so glad you asked. So on our website at aaert.org, there is a tab at the top that talks about all of the committees, and you can peruse through them and read all about each committee. And then if you do have some time that you'd like to give to the organization, I know that all the time that I do spend with the organization on all different levels is so rewarding. And even after these times of COVID, I knew, like, even though we work from home, it just got to be a little different. And I do have children, so it was a big personal and professional impact, even though we work from home. So there's always somebody on the other end willing to listen, or, maybe somebody listening hears your story and is like, I've never thought of that, but that's a really good idea. That's what the committees are about. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that makes me want to be a part of the organization is you just build really strong relationships, you become really smart, and you do a really good job. So you just go and there's an application, and then bring a friend. If you have somebody that's interested in it, bring them along. So you can apply on the website, or you can reach out to aaert@aaert.org and request an application, and they'll be happy to send one to you.
And right, and the only real requirement is that you're a member of the association. And we promise if you join one committee, we won't rope you into joining 2 or 3 like the rest of us are on this call. If you want to join 2 or 3, we're always open to it. But and you don't have to be, senior in the industry. I mean, people who are new can really help. I mean, we get great ideas for conferences and for webinars from people who are needing the help. Hey, I wish we had a webinar on X, and that's where professional development might step in. Or, hey, I wish you communicated on this social media platform. There's a lot of people in this group. Maybe we can bring them together. I mean, that's all what we need. This isn't about everybody who's, the most senior in the industry. It's really about bringing together people from all over the industry. I think that's what I really want to get along with this webinar is it's not about the most advanced. It's really about everybody coming together and joining and being part of that. Now, if you do have a couple of years in the industry, and I do mean a couple, 2 years, which is the base requirement, you can go out for the board and to become part of the leadership. And Jan, you've probably been on the board more than any of us on this webinar. So why don't you talk about the experience of joining the board?
So you're right. I have been on the board probably longer than I originally anticipated. I do enjoy it. I have found that the association is a place where you not only develop your skills, your leadership skills, learn more about marketing, you learn more about communications, you learn it is an educational experience, but it's also one where you develop relationships that are lifelong. And I think the biggest thing for me is that it is important for me to have my home base of this industry has been changing ever since I was started in it in 1984. It's not stagnant. And so it will only remain stagnant if the same people are involved, and we need to constantly bring in new blood and bring in new perspectives. Our industry is representative of many methods of court reporting, and we hear from court administration across the country. We're looking at implementing digital. We're not even quite sure where to begin. Do you have, can you help us so that we, follow the path in a direction that will be most successful for us, and we can connect them to others in the industry. So we want to be a hub for some of those types of resources. Serving on the board has given me that visibility to be reached out to from court administrators, from different companies. I didn't think that there would be the path for me that I ended up taking where I haven't been a reporter now for, probably shouldn't say, 12 years. But I got into management, and I got into general management and national contracts. And then I was able to take what I had learned and experienced and as a court reporter and running my own business to managing federal contracts, government contracts, which is a huge part of our industry. So there really are lots of paths for advancement. And I think that if I had tried to do this all by myself, I would not have made it here. It was through my work and my network with the association. So I found that to be extremely rewarding. Plus, I got a lot of travel out of it as well, because you have to go to just about every convention and attend other meetings with members of the board, and you get to solve real world problems. Not everyone agrees in our industry, and I had the opportunity to be a voice at the table. So I think that's probably been the most rewarding part of it.
No, and I agree. I think, this has just been my first year on the board, but that's about to about to move into my second come June, and it's been very exciting. And it sounds like it would take a lot, but it really is as much of a commitment as you want it to be, and as you can commit to it. Obviously, the more, and a lot of us here are ultra committed, and we reserve time in our day and our schedule for the association. But if you only have a couple hours a month, there are board members that do that. They usually serve on maybe a committee and come to our board meetings. And so it really depends. And maybe Jenny, you can kind of delve deeper into what are those responsibilities from being on the board now yourself.
Well then, so we have meetings just like the committees do. And we make the decisions on the motions that are proposed to us from the committees. So the committees are our vehicles with the wheels, and we approve the things that we need to approve for them to move forward with our mission as the organization as a whole. So, Eileen's she's so good at professional development. I think that was my first committee that I was ever on, and she is just amazing. So everyone who works on the committees, they do devote a lot of time and hard work, but it is that collaboration. So where it may be 30 minutes or an hour a day, or an hour a week, or whether it be a monthly meeting, or then you have a board meeting, but it is manageable. And that's one of the biggest things in our industry, is that all we have one thing of is time, and we can't go buy extra time. So also on that aspect, Ben, it's not being able to be in a committee because you're not a member yet, or you're thinking about it. There's also the social media aspect of it, where you can find loads and loads of resources just on Facebook. I know that's dating, but I know that they're creeping into Instagram and all that too for I want to say the younger generation, but it's our next generation. And that's who we're passing the baton down to with the advances in technology. And just since COVID, it has been astronomical on how our industry has advanced.
Right. No, I agree. I think it's amazing where we're going and where we're advancing. One of those places that we learn a lot about the future is at our conferences and our events and through our webinars. Eileen, can you talk about the different types of events hosted by AAERT? Obviously, there's the conference that we talked about at the head of the hour, but there's, all sorts of events.
Sure. So before COVID, it was really just, we would have an executive forum, which was targeted to business owners. And then we would have a conference, which was kind of targeted to the entire membership of the organization. Then COVID hit and we had to pivot. So then we started doing webinars, and we did webinars on all kinds of different subjects. Some of them were free, Some of them were paid, some of them were panels. So we tried our best to keep our membership engaged in a way that they would feel fulfilled and feel like they were getting their money's worth from the organization. Obviously, my favorite is the in-person conference. Anytime you can get together in person with people, you're going to get a lot more out of it than virtually. So we're still planning to hold webinars. We've got a few that we're going to plan for later in the year. Of course, last year you spearheaded our first digital transcriber and reporter day, which was amazing. And I think we're going to continue to do that.
Definitely.
So I really feel like the more we can engage our membership and engage each other, it just benefits everybody in the long run.
No, I agree. I think, that the engagement is key, and finding different ways. And now you don't have to be a member to go to the conference or attend a webinar or participate, correct?
You do not. It will cost you a little bit extra, especially the conference. You might find it beneficial to become a member just because you'll get quite a bit of a discount for the membership. And if you go to the conference, then your rate for the conference is a little bit lower. And I think we also charge maybe, I don't know if we charge additional for non-members for webinars, but the webinars are really inexpensive to begin with, and you get CEUs for it. So
Yeah, we did have a non-member rate for that and a member rate. And then we
Yeah.
also hosted some conferences that were free to everyone during the pandemic. And it was the Navigating the Seas of Change was the theme of those webinars. So that might, some of you may recognize that. I think your group has done an amazing job at delivering a lot of content that is geared towards, so many different types of members. Our members are students all the way up to, business owners to executives at multi-million-dollar companies. So we have a wide range of members here.
Well, and we also do other events like career showcases and sponsor showcases where people can meet those who help fund the organization in other ways, or can meet employers. I know, Eileen, your company was at our last career showcase, and we do those, on a pretty regular basis, trying to get out there and help people find more work, find more contracts, find employment. So there is a lot, and even if you're not a member, definitely find ways to get involved. Now, that's definitely looking at the individual side of things, but what if I'm a company owner, or I'm, a manager within a company? Are there ways for a corporation or a company to become more involved? Maybe sponsorships or showcases, that sort of thing. Janet, maybe you can talk about that.
Sure. We have sponsorships, annual sponsors, and then we have sponsorships at each of our events. And you get a wide range of different benefits from that. And again, going back to our website, there is a sponsorship. It says sponsors on the menu at the top, and that will give you a list of our annual sponsorships. And that's just to support the organization as a whole. We also, really encourage companies to participate, because you will, if you're looking for employees or contractors to work with, maybe you are looking for vendors. You have to purchase the equipment for the employees to use, and you get to meet face to face with the vendors that are building the equipment out there, and share with them your experience with their equipment or what it is that you're looking for. You also can network with other smaller companies that might be looking for, take on overflow work. So there's a lot of different ways you can benefit by being a large company member as well.
Well, great. I mean, yes, getting involved doesn't just, be limited to an individual. Companies, organizations, vendors can all get involved in their own ways. And now we're going to turn a little bit, right? We've been talking a lot about AAERT, but Jenny, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about groups that are outside of AAERT, other ways of getting involved. Maybe you can dive a little deeper into that.
Yeah, so Facebook is one of my primary places that I go to chat with my friends and colleagues. I call it my research time at night, sometimes early in the morning to wake up. But make good friends there too. You get lots of unbiased advice. People are People who are in this industry like talking about their jobs because they love their jobs. I've met very few people who don't like their jobs, and there, like Janet said, there is room for advancement in this field. So, and there was one other thing I wanted to talk about was our BPG. And I think that that is one of the most valuable things that AAERT has for students, members, non-members. We do sell it online. There is a member and a non-member price, but I think that that is, I have all the versions that there has been. It's one of the best publications that we have about our industry, the court reporting and transcription. So I think that that's one really good resource for everybody. But social media. So there, if you do a search for, you could do transcription reporter. You can also get more specific and search for like digital court reporters or legal transcription. There are tons of groups out there that where you can join, and they all have their own rules in their pages, but you can network so much. And if you have a question about something, hey, I can't get channel 3, or all of a sudden my screens went blank, whatever. Somebody's always, there are large communities out there to help you. And then maybe that will send you to AAERT too.
Great. And, I think we all have our favorite Facebook groups to watch and monitor. Eileen, do you have any that you really like?
I think aside from the AAERT Facebook page, I love Planet Transcription and Transcriptionists who help each other out. Those are two that I visit pretty frequently. And you can post questions on there, and a lot of times you'll get an answer within minutes. A lot of people post audio, even little snippets of audio on there. Hey, what's this word? Can you make out what this word is? And 9 times out of 10, they get help, and they get it very quickly. And there's great search features. So you can really search on there and maybe find what you're looking for without even having to ask a question.
Another good one is Transcription Alliance.
Yes.
And then Digital Court Reporters. And then, I'm sorry, Ben, but I noticed that Victor Aldrich, I can make a list. I can get with Eileen and we can scrub a list together of all the sites that we know of on Facebook if you'd like, and I can send that to Ben and he can send it out as he would like to. But BPG is our best practices guide. That's what BPG stands for. I'm sorry for not clarifying that earlier.
Well, great. Well, thank you. And Janet, did you have any recommendations?
I was just going to say that now that the industry is growing, we are also seeing some similar, associations that are not taking on certification, but taking on inviting digital reporters to participate. So, and they're not excluding us. I'll just say that. So you have the Speech to Text Institute. You have STAR, the STAR Tech conference is this weekend. It's all virtual, and that's a users group for stenograph, but it's also about a lot of technology, and they're opening to digital court reporters. We have, on Facebook, I haven't lived through the groups as much as you all have, but I have found LinkedIn also is another resource for the transcription and the legal court reporting community. So again, just search there.
Well, and for a shameless plug, Star did give AAERT members a discount for the Star Tech conference coming up, and so this is one of the great benefits of being a member of AAERT is our connection to other associations. And so, if you're interested, definitely, if you haven't received an email or you're a member, a newer member, or just can't find the email, go email AAERT at aaert.org and they can send you the code to get that for that discount. So that is, a great way. And we did mention the AAERT Facebook group. That is a private members only group. You have to be a member of the association, but that's great because then we can have kind of more intimate conversations, share more stories, not feel like everything we say is getting out into the public view. But if you want to join our LinkedIn group, that is an open group. So we have one of each, two great places to communicate with each other. So I think that is, a great way for us to connect. Now, Jenny, I think earlier you mentioned CEU credits for certified people. They're going to need them. And there are some unique ways like committee participation. What are some of those ways you can earn CEUs that maybe is not attending a webinar or taking a class?
Well, then we also have a newsletter. So if you submit an article, you can get credit for the articles that are published. You can be on a task force, which is like a specialized committee where it might be for just a certain project or for a certain amount of time, more specialized group. Well, of course you get credits if you go to the conference and all of those, but I'm kind of drawing a blank if there's more, Ben.
Well, committee work and all of that kind of stuff, adds up. If you are certified, you need 3 CEUs or 30 hours worth of work a year. So, some of that stuff really can make an impact. Joining a committee, is worth 0.25. Writing an article, it's worth 0.25, one that is published. So those type of things really do add up pretty quickly for recertification. And it's important to stay on top of that. You want to keep that up, as we've mentioned, for all of that. So I'm going to do one last round around the group. So starting with you, Eileen, what would you say to the audience why they should get more involved? Is there anything we've left out or anything you want them to know?
I think, we've pretty much touched on most of it. I think that just really learning more about the industry that you've chosen to work in is going to benefit you in the long term, and it's going to benefit any of the contracts that you do work for. If you own a small business like I do, getting involved is going to benefit you in so many ways that you can't even keep track of it. We've had people come to us with RFPs they thought would be good for us. We've gotten contracts out of it. We've gotten good subcontractors, great ideas on how to do different things. And none of this would have happened without our involvement in AAERT. So I just think it's just a great benefit for anybody on any level: student, transcriber, court reporter, company owner, executive. On all levels, it's good to be involved.
Great. No, I agree. No matter if you own your own business or you're looking to get involved with the company that you work for or contract for. It looks like that I may have made a Freudian slip. It is not 30 or 3 CEUs per year. It's 3 CEUs spread out over 3 years or per recertification cycle. So you need to get those in by the time your certification is due. So there you go. I have now clarified. Moving on to Jenny, what would your final words be?
My final words would be to strive to do the best that you can do every day on a transcript. It doesn't matter if you're a subcontractor, if you're a company, in one way, shape, or form, it's your product. So stand behind your product and have confidence. And the more confidence that you gain with each and every day with practicing. That's what makes you better, is practice. Practice, practice. Every methodology requires practice to stay. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And invest in yourself. Everything will come back tenfold. The volunteer hours, the investment in education and time. And, we're all here for each other. So.
And Janet, I'll give you the final words.
Oh, boy. And how much time do I have?
I don't know how much you need.
No. I would recommend getting involved because it is a way to make sure that you are fully rounded out. You're not just learning one way and pigeonholing yourself that way. Also, you keep in mind that we are in an industry where we are very often walking into a situation that you couldn't possibly have expected. You can't prepare for everything. So having resources to turn to help you, gosh, how would you have handled that situation? You're dealing with people that are adversaries. So they're always going to be arguing, and sometimes you get caught in the middle of that. And again, having people that you can go to and say, has anybody else gone through this ridiculous, crazy situation before? Also learning your business skills. There's more to being a reporter than just going out and recording and transcribing. If you are working for someone else, you still have to be organized. You have to manage your billing. You have to keep track of your record keeping. And there's just so many aspects to this that you can't learn in a classroom. So, your classroom, your living classroom is this membership. And I think that's probably the most valuable thing, just really taking off of what Jenny already said.
I already know my next marketing campaign, AAERT, your living classroom. I love it. There we go. Well, you did my committee's work for me tonight, so thank you, Janet. But now we will have a little bit of time for questions. So please either put them in the Q&A pod or open up the chat window. These are some, really great panelists today who represent a wide variety of industry experience and understanding about how to get involved. So what questions do you have about how you want to get involved with the industry? Let's see, maybe we answered them all for today. Well, Jenny.
Another thing that I would like to add is, this is a membership organization. We do want to meet the needs of our members. We can't meet the needs of our members if we don't know what they are. And if you don't like what you see, then you have to get involved. It's like voting. You don't have any right to complain about politics if you don't vote. So that is another part, be a voice, help us understand how we can help you better.
Somebody made a comment that there is a huge shortage of reporters. I think most people on here know, and I want to note of transcribers, because I know we need more transcribers. And due to the pandemic, due to the legal system, due to everything, and there is plenty of work for everybody, no matter the methodology or what you're doing. So definitely Connie, who I spoke about earlier, is in Tennessee. They need more court reporters there. And she's asking, how are some areas handling this? What are they doing to cope with this? Does anybody have a good answer for that?
Well, there's the first step, which is, can you legally practice in the state where you reside? And if you cannot, you can still practice, you can still work remotely, but then get involved in your own state. Talk to your legislator, find if there are other members in your state that may be doing transcription work only. I would say that every single state has some form of digital recording happening with, it could be the state agency, your city council meetings. How many of those you see now being broadcast and posted on the city's website that you can go and watch it at any time, and you see a transcription of it as well. Um, I find that the recordings and matching transcription it is exploded, especially after the pandemic. This Zoom recording, we're creating a form of a transcript, rough transcript, right along with it. It's not what we want to see as a certified transcript saying, I certify that this individual, actually said what they said. But when you do move into doing that, you have to do it, you have to be the representative, because people do read that stuff. And I think the other thing is, just don't give up if you don't find that if it's really something that you want to do. There are so many ways to work remotely, no matter where you are. So just find what will fit your niche, and don't give up.
And we do have another question here from Jill. Any suggestions on beginning the path to legal digital proofreading? And I will say that we don't generally talk about pay ranges on these webinars because it is a consortium of professionals and we don't want to have any issues with antitrust. But I will say, pay really depends on your location, how you're taking the work. Is it contract if you're on staff? Those type of things. But we're not going to touch that. But as far as getting started on the path of legal digital proofreading, maybe Eileen, do you have a suggestion on that?
Well, I would say for proofreading, I mean, you're still going to want to go through a transcription course because that's going to teach you everything that you need to know. You really need to know how to transcribe before you can proofread something. So I would recommend taking any of the courses that are with the approved schools in AAERT. That's the best way. Once you get some experience under your belt, you can approach various companies and offer your proofreading services. We do employ proofreaders, we employ transcribers. So we have all levels within our organization. And I want to just touch on one other thing quickly. I think it's incumbent upon all of us within the industry to be ambassadors for our career. And a good example of this, I was at an event over the weekend with my daughter, and I was speaking to another mom there, and she was talking about, she was a stay-at-home mom and she didn't know what she was going to do. She liked to type. I told her what I did. She said, I like to type. I pointed her to the schools on the AAERT website. I sent her the link. I gave her my information. I said, go to this course, take this course, call me when you graduate. I can help you. So I think if we all do that, if we all go out and just tell everybody that we know what a great career this is and what a great opportunity it is, that's how we're going to get more people in the industry.
Definitely.
Well, just say it is not an easy job. It is not an easy job. So if someone tells you you work from home, oh, it must be an easy job. It is not an easy job, and it is definitely a developed skill. Yeah. And I am with Eileen on the perspective of being a transcriber first, because there are so many elements and components to, it's not just typing what you hear. There's a format that it goes in, and certain things have to be done. And being able to transcribe would help alleviate that, the gap of, well, do you even know what a captioning is, or, understanding the lingo. So yes, I think that you could easily, after a transcription course, go through some guided proofing training.
And Jill, I'll say that, really finding and understanding court reporting based grammar, or grammar for the spoken word, which is not the same as grammar for literature, is really important. Getting your hands on a Greg's or a reference manual, or on a Morrison's English guide, or on Margie Wakefield's book on grammar, those type of things, really understanding that is a key to knowing how to proof that. The other thing I will say, in addition to what Eileen said, is that some of the larger companies call those people QC or QA specialists. So they may not be called proofreaders, but there may be a lot of overlap in that work, and really getting your skills refined and maybe taking some time as a transcriber before you proofread is good. And there are some companies now that are even using ASR or speech recognition AI as the original typer of the content, and having somebody go back and proofreading, scoping, whatever the appropriate word is going to be one of these days. And so with that being said, they definitely have opportunities available, but you really need those skills. Just because you can read really well and catch errors, doesn't mean you're going to know the formatting and know that kind of stuff. There was a question about remote notary, although I'm not an expert. I don't know if anybody here is. If your state's not a RON state, what states can you swear in?
So the National Notary Organization does maintain information on which states and whether the laws are, because it's been fluctuating. There have been emergency orders, some temporary rules that policies have been put in place, and then they've been extended. It is not something that we as an organization have the resources to monitor that and keep it up to date because we have other resources like the National Notary Organization. So I did direct the questioner to that link, and that is a good place to start. Certainly always make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. And I used to actually carry a document with me that showed that I was eligible. This was back in the early days when paper was still a thing. And to actually have the statute that allowed me as a person who was using digital recording technology to swear in and be the reporter for a deposition.
And Judy did mention, I'll take this as the last sort of comment question about recruiting and ways that we can do this. Yes, 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 yes. Get out there, help, advocate, spread the word. If it's to high schoolers, if it's to people who recently graduated college, if it's through social media, through YouTube, through your involvement in your community, through your state organizations, through your friend network. Yes, we need to get the word out there. There is a massive shortage. Every company I know is hiring and hiring a lot of people and are excited to hire people. All of them, most of them, I should say, will take you if you're on the green side, if you've gone through an approved training program, or if you've, gotten your experience, they'll take you. Some of them have onboarding processes depending what type of role it is. And so, yes, get involved. We need more people. That's the end of that story. I think that's the best point to put on it. So with that, I am going to say thank you, everybody. It is 8:02 p.m. and I appreciate everybody for joining us today. You will get a follow-up email in your inbox tomorrow. So please take a look at that, and we will see you the next time. Our next webinar is going to be next month, and it's going to look back at an article I wrote 3 years ago, actually next week, called Two Truths and a Lie About Court Reporting, which looked at the different methodologies of court reporting and how it compared to digital. So yes, it was somewhat controversial, but great. We need to be out there and advocating, as we already talked about. So please join us. You can sign up at blueledge.com/webinars. And thank you again to our panelists. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Eileen. And thank you, Janet, for joining us.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thank
Take care.
you.
And
Bye.
thank you all for
Bye-bye.
attending,
Bye.
and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.